The morning sun barely crested the horizon, casting long shadows across the dusty sniper range. A quiet tension hung in the air, broken only by the faint hum of distant helicopters and the scrape of boots on gravel. At the far end of the line stood her, a young woman gripping a rifle that looked like it had survived 100 battles, a rusted barrel, worn stock, and scratches across the scope. Around her, elite snipers leaned casually on their weapons, whispering and laughing under their breath, mocking the old rifle and the seemingly unremarkable soldier holding it. "She won't hit it," one said, smirking, while another shook his head, disbelief etched across his face. She didn't flinch, she didn't respond. Her eyes were fixed on the target, a small, near impossible mark perched on a distant ridge, swaying slightly in the morning wind. Every muscle in her body tensed with concentration, her breathing slow and methodical, as though she were already seeing the path her bullet would take. The camera pans from her hands gripping the worn stock to the skeptical faces of her peers, building a silent tension that speaks louder than words. The narrator cuts in. They mocked her weapon, doubted her skill. But one shot would change everything. Hours earlier, this moment had been unimaginable. She had arrived at the range and noticed, quietly setting up her rifle while others flaunted the latest high-tech gear, scopes glinting in the early light. The veteran snipers barely registered her presence, assuming she was just another trainee, another amateur who would fumble under pressure. Yet beneath the rust and scratches of her rifle lay years of experience, honed precision, and countless hours of practice in environments far more dangerous than any training ground. Her past missions, unrecorded and classified, had prepared her for situations where hesitation could mean death, where every shot had to count. Today, she was underestimated, doubted, and laughed at, but she carried a confidence born of survival, of skill, and of a quiet knowledge that the impossible could become reality, with the right calculation. The wind shifted, the target moved slightly, and she exhaled slowly, ready to prove that true mastery had little to do with appearances and everything to do with precision, patience, and resolve. The snipers laughed before the morning sun even touched the ridge. She set her rifle on the bipod, its rusted barrel glinting faintly in the dim light, and the elite marksmen couldn't resist mocking her. "Is that thing even functional?" one whispered, grinning at his peers. Another snorted, tapping his scope. "She's going to embarrass herself before breakfast." She didn't respond. She had heard the whispers countless times, back in training, on missions where underestimation was a constant companion. Instead, she inspected her rifle, running her fingers over scratches and worn edges, checking the scope, adjusting the bipod's angle. Every movement was methodical, precise, and confident. The camera pans across the range, steel targets, wind flags fluttering, dust rising in the early light, and the distant ridge where the challenger waited. Her peers continued their snickers, oblivious to the calm in her eyes. She knew the rifle's history, the countless miles of practice, every mission survived, every shot calculated. It may have looked old, rusted, and unworthy, but in her hands it was a weapon honed through experience. She exhaled slowly, eyes narrowing on the distant target. The whispers and laughter faded behind her concentration. Today, no amount of mockery could affect the outcome. Today, she would let the rifle speak. The commander stepped forward, voice carrying across the range. "This is not a routine shot," he said. "The target is moving, distance over 2,000 meters, and conditions are unpredictable. Only those confident in their skill should attempt." The elite snipers exchanged glances, smirking at her quietly, thinking she wouldn't dare. She didn't flinch. She had faced worse conditions on missions no one knew about in marked mountains, shifting winds, hostile fire. Her hands rested lightly on the worn stock, thumb brushing the trigger, adjusting for wind speed, trajectory, and distance. The camera shifts to the target, a tiny figure barely visible against the rocky ridge, swaying with the gusts of morning air. Every sniper in the range muttered doubts, some shaking their heads. Yet she simply inhaled deeply, centering herself. She didn't need validation. She had calculated each factor in her mind: the angle, the crosswind, the sway of the target, the subtle inconsistencies in her rifle's old mechanics. Her pulse remained steady, heart calm. While others relied on new scopes, high-tech rifles, and assistance, she trusted her instincts, honed over years of rigorous training. Today wasn't about appearances. It wasn't about proving herself to the mockers. Today, It was about one perfect shot, and she knew exactly what that required. Wine flags fluttered violently, gusts slicing across the range, making even experienced snipers pause. She adjusted her scope, measuring distance with precise calculation, feeling every subtle change in wind, elevation, and humidity. The elite marksmen watched, some smirking nervously, others confused by her calm demeanor. She exhaled, slow and controlled, each breath measured, aligning her eye with the scope. The target moved slightly along the ridge, a narrow, difficult angle, but she didn't flinch. Her mind replayed past missions, long-distance targets in hostile terrain, moving adversaries in impossible conditions, scenarios where hesitation could mean life or death. Every micro-movement was catalogued, every variable predicted. She shifted her stance slightly, adjusting for bullet drop over extreme distance, letting her experience guide her hands instead of fear. A bead of sweat ran down her temple, but she ignored it, focused solely on the alignment of her sights. Her peers whispered among themselves, noticing her determination but still underestimating her. The camera captures her finger resting lightly on the trigger, knuckles white but hands steady. Silence falls over the range as the moment approaches. The mockery, the doubts, the laughter, it all becomes background noise. Nothing matters now except the target, the rifle, and the one perfect shot that will defy every expectation. Her finger tightened on the trigger, the tiniest movement calibrated for a perfect release. Time seemed to stretch as she exhaled, muscles locked, eyes unwavering. The bullet left the barrel in slow-motion cinematic detail, spinning through the morning air, cutting across wind, dust, and distance. Every sniper in the range leaned forward instinctively, some gripping their rifles as though willing the bullet to fail. But it didn't. The camera follows the projectile as it arcs perfectly, accounting for every variable she had calculated in her mind. The target, a moving figure atop the distant ridge, sways one last time, and then the shot lands flawlessly. Silence hits the range immediately. The target is neutralized. The snipers gape, disbelief frozen on their faces. Even the commander blinks, stunned. Her rusted, mocked rifle had executed a feat that no new equipment, no advanced optics, and no elite marksman had dared attempt. She lowers the rifle slowly, never celebrating, never gloating, just satisfied with precision. Around her, whispers of awe-replace laughter. Eyes that once sneered now reflect respect. She had done what was considered impossible. In that moment, her reputation crystallizes, silent, lethal, and unmatched. The camera lingers on her stoic expression, revealing that mastery isn't measured by appearances or equipment, but by skill, focus, and calm under pressure. The elite snipers stand frozen, mouths slightly open, the mockery replaced by disbelief. Slowly, a few exchange hesitant nods, acknowledging her skill. The commander approaches, silent at first, then places a firm hand on her shoulder. "Exceptional," he murmurs, voice low but full of respect. Behind her, other soldiers gather, realizing they had witnessed something extraordinary. She doesn't smile, doesn't bask in attention. Instead, she methodically inspects the rifle, ensuring its worn mechanics are still sound. Flashbacks reveal her unrecorded missions, long-range shots in hostile territory, impossible kills executed under extreme pressure, all unrecognized because they were classified. This shot today wasn't just about proving herself to her peers, it was a quiet affirmation of the years of precision and experience she had silently built. Around the range, whispers circulate about her calm under impossible conditions, her ability to calculate in seconds what others couldn't in hours. Respect replaces doubt, and the old rifle that had drawn ridicule now stands as a symbol of mastery. She leaves the range quietly, her presence commanding attention without needing to demand it. The other snipers now understand, skill, patience, and experience can surpass any weapon, any technology, and any doubt. Later, as the morning sun rises fully over the mountains, she walks past her peers, rifle slung over her shoulder. Silence follows her, a quiet acknowledgement of her mastery. The commander watches, nodding subtly, knowing the shot will be talked about for years in hushed tones. Interviews, whispers, and training discussions later replay her feat, how one seemingly outdated weapon, paired with extraordinary skill, achieved the impossible. Her peers no longer mock her or her rifle. Instead, they study her technique, learn from her patience, and respect the precision she embodies. Narration underscores the lesson. True skill isn't measured by equipment, ego, or noise, it's measured by focus, courage, and execution. Even the most elite snipers, who refused the shot themselves, now stand humbled by her performance. She doesn't seek glory, applause, or medals. She simply walks away, leaving behind a legacy written in the impossible trajectory of one perfect bullet. As the camera pans across the now empty range, the target marked by her success, and the rising sun casting long shadows, the narrator concludes, "Talent speaks in silence, mastery shows in action, and one shot can silence every doubt forever." Her figure fades into the morning light, unstoppable, unrecognized by many but immortalized by her impossible precision. The wind shifted across the sniper range as the morning sun fully rose, casting long shadows over the distant ridge where the impossible shot had landed. Around her, the elite snipers remained frozen, some lowering their rifles slowly, others staring in disbelief. The laughter and mockery from earlier had vanished completely, replaced by quiet, reluctant respect. Even the commander, usually stern and reserved, nodded slightly, acknowledging the precision, patience, and skill that had just been displayed. She didn't smile, didn't seek applause. She methodically checked her rifle, fingers brushing the worn stock and rusted barrel, as though to honor the countless hours she had spent mastering every detail. The whispers behind her questions, murmurs, admiration meant nothing. She had never acted for recognition. As she walked away from the range, rifle slung over her shoulder, the morning light caught on the metal and scratches of the barrel, turning it into a quiet symbol of mastery and resilience. Fellow snipers watched her go, finally understanding that talent, focus, and unwavering determination could turn even the most underestimated weapon into a tool of perfection. The camera pans out, showing the empty range, the distant target marked by her success, and the rising sun casting her long shadow across the earth. Narration closes. True skill doesn't demand attention, it commands respect. One shot, executed with calm and precision, can silence doubt forever. She fades into the horizon, leaving her legend unspoken but unforgettable.